The general told me our friends in the east just assaulted a Gustav outside Stalingrad.
Hello YouTube, my name is Nero. Today we have some more Call of Duty WWII. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today I would like to talk to you guys about new weapons that are going to be coming to Call of Duty WWII in the very near future, as well as discuss the possibility for an Eastern Front DLC that has been teased off and on by Sledgehammer Games over the course of the past few months. Let's go ahead and start things off here by talking about the new weapons. So as we all know, there are lots of cut weapons that are currently sitting in the game files. We know that they're going to be coming to the game eventually because a lot of those cut weapons were added via the Winter Siege event, but we still have even more weapons waiting in the wing. Well, yesterday, when they gave us the preview for the Resistance DLC, at the very end of that preview, we were able to see this weapon right here, which happens to be the Volkssturmgewehr rifle, which has been in the files ever since the beta. This tells me that we are going to be getting new weapons added to the game on or around when the Resistance DLC comes out on January 30th. The big question, however, is what exactly is going to be added. We have the Volkssturmgewehr, we know that's coming, but what other weapons are going to be added, and how exactly are they going to be added? Will there be a special order this time around to get these new weapons, or will we be 100% reliant on supply drops? Whatever the case may be, I think it's best for us all to start saving our armory credits right now, because in about 1 month's time, new weapons are going to be added. So of course, save your credits after you're done getting everything you want out of the Winter Siege event. Now, when it comes to the possibility of an Eastern Front DLC, things are not nearly as concrete as new weapons actually coming, but this is actually something I've suspected for a very long time, and we now have more evidence than ever before. So the clip I showed you guys at the very beginning of the video, that is actually Major Howard talking about how the Russians have attacked a Gustav outside of Stalingrad. And you may think that this is in reference to the Gustav Cannon multiplayer map that I'm playing on right now, but that's not actually the case. The Gustav Cannon map is set in the Crimean Peninsula, which is a 14-hour car ride away from Stalingrad. A little known fact is there was actually a second Gustav Cannon, codenamed Nora, that was deployed to be used against Stalingrad. The Russians pushed them back and the Germans retreated and slowly destroyed the gun before it was eventually discovered by American troops. So we have Major Howard here talking about a second Gustav, but that is only one bit of evidence that hints towards a Russian DLC coming to the game. We also have this early promotional material that shows Sledgehammer Games co-founder Glenn Schofield at the German Reichstag. This is very significant to me because every other location that was shown in these promos has been added to the game, with the exception of the Reichstag, right? We see Michael Condrey here at Gibraltar and at London, both of which are added to the game, but Berlin and the Reichstag are nowhere to be found, even in the campaign. When it comes to an Eastern Front DLC, it's important to remember that we're not talking about just Russian areas here. I think when people picture the Eastern Front, they picture like Stalingrad and everything happening within the Soviet Union itself, but we're actually talking about all sorts of different conflicts between the Allies and the Axis, and that brings me to my third point, the fact that the factions in this game are called Allied and Axis, not specifically Americans versus Germans, which of course opens up the possibility for tons of areas of the war to actually be explored. We learned from the Resistance DLC preview yesterday that DLCs are all going to likely focus on one major theme. The theme, of course, of the first DLC is the Resistance, and every map's actually focused on something revolving resisting and fighting back against the Germans. Well, the theme for the Eastern Front DLC would, of course, be the Soviet Union, the Russians, versus the Germans, and as a result, they could utilize parts of the war, like Stalingrad and Berlin. I personally think Stalingrad would make for an awesome war map, and since we already saw Glenn Schofield at the Reichstag, I think it's incredibly likely that they plan to remaster Dome from World at War as part of that Eastern Front DLC. When we look at what's currently in the game right now, that actually has Russian influence. Keep in mind, they said time and time again that this game is going to be multiple fronts. When it comes to actual Russian influence in this game, we have the Russian PPSH-41 submachine gun, the Russian SVT-40 rifle, And I think that's it. I may be missing one or two weapons, but I think that's actually pretty much it. Aside from that, we basically have a bunch of Soviet outfits and Soviet calling cards, but that's pretty much it when it comes to actual Russian influence within the World War II multiplayer. I have a feeling they're going to be adding more Russian stuff to the game over time, and since we now know that DLC weapons are going to be coming out with each DLC, an Eastern Front map pack would be a great time for them to add more Russian and German weapons. Some notable ones that would fit perfectly within this game, of course, would be the Mosin Nagant bolt-action rifle, which I really want that weapon to come to the game. I own one of these things in real life. It's my favorite gun of all time, pretty much. It's right up there with the Tommy gun. I really want the Mosin Nagant to come to the game. We, of course, could bring back from World at War the PTRS anti-tank rifle, the DP-28 light machine gun, the TT-33 pistol, and maybe even some more obscure Russian weapons that were, in fact, used, though very limitedly, during World War II, like the SKS or the Automat. Now, when it comes to more German weapons being added to the game, because, of course, we are talking about Russians versus Germans, this could be a perfect time for them to add weapons like the leaked Walther P38 pistol, the MG81 Mauser light machine gun, and the Reichs revolver, all of which are currently sitting in the game files for Call of Duty World War II. What do you guys think? Does it seem possible that a future DLC will revolve around the Soviet Union? Because to me, it seems incredibly likely, given all of the evidence I've actually described here, and I imagine over time, more evidence is going to eventually pop up. Not to mention, if they do decide to go down this particular DLC path, that of course leaves open the possibility for a Pacific Theater-themed DLC that will utilize American versus Japanese conflicts like Okinawa, Makin Atoll, Peleliu, and Wake Island. It's also worth mentioning that we have a ton of Japanese and American weapons currently sitting in the game files waiting to be used, including the Japanese Arasaka sniper rifle, the Type 5 semi-automatic rifle, and of course the American Browning M1919 light machine gun, and the Winchester 1894 lever action rifle. I think it's very likely they're going to add a Japanese DLC as well, because they talk about the game being multiple fronts, but look at the Japanese influence of this game. There is none. We have the Type 100 submachine gun, and is that it? There may be a Japanese calling card that references that part of the war here and there, but by and large, there's like no Japanese influence really whatsoever. So I think it's incredibly possible that all of these things will actually happen in the future. So be sure to like and favorite this video just in case what I predicted actually comes true, because I really do think it's going to happen. And of course, I would like to again pass the question off to you guys. What do you think about the future DLC for Call of Duty World War II? And what specifically do you guys hope to see? I would love to hear about that down there in the comment section below. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Drop me a rating, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.